Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to today's presentation. I'm going to be talking all about cutting hacks. Now, for those of you who do not know what cutting stands for, in this entire presentation, I'll refer to fat loss as cutting. So whenever you hear people say like, oh, I'm trying to cut down, I'm cutting right now, that basically means that they're on a fat loss phase. And for a lot of people, losing body fat, cutting in general, is sometimes kind of difficult, right? Because if you're like myself, I'm a big eater. A lot of my lifestyle revolves around food, whether it's like going out with my friends, social occasions, the holidays now coming up right now as well, right? There's constantly food around. It seems like in North America, or especially in America, there's like traditions and holidays like every other week. So there's constantly food around. And so by you trying to go on a fat loss phase and by you restricting your calories, because in order to lose body fat, like we touched on the first module or in the first guide, you have to be in a calorie deficit, right? And that means that you have to eat less calories than you burn on a day-to-day basis. Now, for some people, they have no issues doing that and stay consistent with that. Some people naturally just aren't like big eaters, or they're not like as food focused, which is a good trait to have, because if you can just like go through your fat loss phase not even feeling hungry or not even thinking about foods, then this presentation probably is not for you. But if you're like myself, and like I would say most people, and you have a hard time sticking to your diet because you're constantly hungry, your stomach is constantly growling, and you just like hate suffering through this, then this presentation is for you, because I'm going to be sharing some cutting hacks that I've used personally, that I've used with all my clients in the past before, to help them lose body fat without suffering, basically, right? Focus mainly on low calorie, dense foods. And now basically these are foods low in calories but very high in volume. So a couple examples of these includes any type of fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are a great source of fiber. Obviously, they're really good for you because they've got all the minerals and all the vitamins for you. They're super sweet as well, so it can help kind of like satisfy that sweet tooth, especially the fruits. And most importantly, they're super, super filling due to its fiber content. And what's so cool about this is that because they're a low calorie dense food, it means that you get to eat a whole lot of them without really like sacrificing a whole lot of calories, especially when it comes to vegetables. Think of like your salads, your spinach, your broccoli, all these green leafy greens as well. Like any type of vegetable, really, peppers, onions. You get a lot of volume for them for very little calories, which means that you can actually eat substantially a lot more of that specific food without you having to like necessarily go over your calories for the day, right? Because if you were to substitute an entire massive salad, like one entire bag of salad, let's say it's 340 grams, is roughly 80 calories, depending on what kind of bag of salad you get. But I get like the iceberg one that has like shredded carrots, shredded cabbage, and some iceberg lettuce, I think. And if you were to put that in a bowl and like just like look at it visually, it'd be like, oh my goodness, that's like a lot of food in front of me right here, right? And if you were to take the exact same amount of calories in that bowl and you were to replace that with just like a bowl of rice or pasta, you'd be really surprised. You'd actually be really shocked by how little you would get from that. So fruits and vegetables, specifically vegetables, are going to be your best friend on a cutting phase because they're very low in calories. They fill you up a lot, and you get a lot of volume for very little calories, as opposed to like rice, pasta. Yes, they're a great source of carbs, but they're not as filling compared to the salads, the lettuces, and stuff. I'm not saying you can't have rice or potatoes or pasta anymore. Of course, you can still add that. But what I would recommend is having a smaller portion of that, and then on the side, maybe have like a bigger portion of like salads if hunger is a big issue for you, right? The second thing is protein. I talked about this in the macro section, but protein, due to its satiating effects, because protein, as we should know by now, kind of like takes the longest for your body to like fully break down and digest, which means that it'll help you stay fuller for longer. So by you increasing your protein intake, or by you focusing on more protein rich foods on a fat loss phase, you may notice that your hunger is not as severe as it could have been had you had lowered your protein throughout the diet. But it would definitely not be a bad idea for you to, on average, slightly increase your protein intake. So usually I always go by just 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein. But if hunger is like a big deal for you, like if you're really, really hungry, definitely highly recommend to increase your protein intake. Yes, this may mean you have to like reduce some of your carbs and a bit of your fats as well to make room for the added protein, because obviously protein does have still calories in them. But this can definitely help you just like not feel as hungry anymore. So it is a trade-off that you have to make. But if you want to keep the carbs and fats in, totally cool. You can still keep that in. But if, again, hunger is a big issue for you, I would highly recommend to lower the carbs a bit and just add a bit more protein, just due to its satiating effects. I'd say this all the time, but you never hear anyone say like, oh, I just binged on my diet. I'm like, oh, okay, what did you have? Oh, I just had like 20 chicken breasts. It's like no one binges on their diet with 20 chicken breasts. No one binges on eating fish. No one binges on eating steak. No one binges on protein powder. Like no one, like it doesn't happen. Like it simply does not happen, because it's not like a super hyper palatable food. And basically what that means is that like after eating like, let's say, chicken, broccoli, and rice, for example, mainly chicken and stuff, you're not gonna like be done eating that and be like, oh my goodness, like I want more of that. It's like you're not, right? Whereas if you were to eat like a donut instead or a slice of pizza, it's like you have one donut, you have one slice of pizza, and you'll be like, oh my goodness, like I am craving even more now. Do you guys ever like have a situation where you'll eat something and you maybe were not as hungry prior to eating, but then now after you've eaten that specific food, specifically like a hyper palatable food, like any junk or sweet food, you're just like left feeling even hungrier now? That is very dangerous, right? And so with chicken breast, with like even like fruits and vegetables, like you're not gonna like eat that and feel like, oh my goodness, I want another salad right now, or oh my goodness, I want 5 more chicken breasts right now. Like it simply just does not happen, right? The third thing here are whole grains. So think of foods that are high in fiber, because fiber again is also super satiating and it also fills you up. So think of like your whole grains, your oatmeal, your whole grain pasta, your whole grain bread, your whole grain rice, any type of whole grain type of product that isn't really refined, has more fiber in it, and due to its fiber content will help you stay fuller for longer. And the fourth thing here, this is almost like a secret weapon: caffeine. And now it is technically a drug, but you can get it over the counter. Like people sell caffeine, you can get it in the form of coffee, of tea, energy drinks. It is a stimulant, right? So you do have to be careful not to like overdo it. I went through like a fat loss phase when I did my bodybuilding show, and I definitely relied on caffeine. Like I'll be the first to admit I probably had way too much caffeine during this time, because number one, it does suppress your appetite. And what that means is that after, let's say, drinking like a black coffee, like a 0-calorie energy drink, that can almost just like get rid of your hunger. Let's say first thing in the morning, you're super, super hungry. You do not eat anything first. You make sure that you drink a bunch of water, right? As you should, right? Before eating anything. And then afterwards, you're like, okay, I'm still kind of hungry, but let me have a coffee instead first. So you have a coffee, and not only does it suppress your appetite, meaning that your hunger will start to like slowly diminish, it also kind of like increases like your energy levels and increases your mood. Like after I drink a cup of black coffee, I feel amazing. I feel like Superman. Like my mood just increases. I feel excited about life again. Just my energy increases, and plus it suppresses my appetite as well. So it's almost like a secret weapon. Definitely something I will not rely on. Really quickly, guys, like right now, I'm not taking any caffeine because I do really view this as a secret weapon. And I'm in a situation right now with like my goals and my diet. I'm eating plenty of food right now. I do not need to rely on the caffeine. And I would so much rather use the caffeine if and when I get on like another fat loss phase again. And I know that I'll like really like need it, and like not really need it, but like I would benefit a lot more from that during a fat loss phase as opposed to now when I'm trying to like build more muscle in like a massing phase, right? So I would definitely use it wisely. Don't just like aimlessly drink a bunch of caffeine. The FDA recommends no more than 400 milligrams per day. So that's like a couple cups of coffee, or I think 2 to 3 energy drinks, which hopefully most people aren't drinking on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, really use this to your advantage. Like try to, like if you're in a phase in life right now when you don't really need to rely on caffeine, you don't really need it right now, I would say don't just aimlessly drink it, and use it more like wisely, right? It's like if you're in a fat loss phase and you're like in the last couple of weeks of it and hunger is kicking you in the butt, then I'll be like, okay, have a black cup of coffee, or have a 0-calorie energy drink, or have a tea, or whatever form of caffeine you want to have. Now, I do want to touch on some specific foods. So obviously we did touch on like low calorie dense foods, but that's a pretty like broad spectrum. So a couple of specific foods that I personally enjoyed and that I personally ate when I did my bodybuilding show a couple of years ago is, and these are in no particular order, these are just like randomly listed off. The first one is powdered peanut butter. This is a great substitute to regular peanut butter, because obviously regular peanut butter does have a lot of calories, right? Because it's mainly a source of fat. 1 tablespoon has around 90 to 100 calories, whereas 1 tablespoon of this powdered peanut butter, I think, has around 45 calories. So pretty much 50% less calories per serving, which is a great alternative. Now, as you guys can tell by the label right here, it says 90% less fat. So that's a great alternative to regular peanut butter. You can just add this to a bowl, add a splash of water or milk, mix it up until you reach your desired consistency, and then you can just eat it as is, or add it on top of maybe like your pancakes or your oatmeal or your cereal, or just eat it by a spoonful, whatever you want to do with that. The second thing here is smart pop popcorn. Make sure that you don't get the super buttery version. Most popcorns that you see in like a bag at the grocery store are usually filled with a bunch of like butters and fats. So make sure that you get the smart pop popcorn. It's by Orville. The brand is called Orville. And usually they also have like 100-calorie bags, which you can just see on the front package. And popcorn in itself is also a great source of fiber. A lot of people don't know this, but plain popcorn in itself is amazing. High in fiber, but where it goes wrong. Obviously, like at the movie theaters, you see people lathering it with like a ton of butter, a ton of salt, and that'll add a lot of calories to it, right? So popcorn in itself is amazing. I personally have the popcorn that is unsalted, unbuttered, just plain boring popcorn, and then I season it on my own with either some salt and pepper or whatever else I have in the house. I kind of get creative. Sometimes I get like garlic salt or whatever. But yeah, that's a great hack. Popcorn in itself is amazing, or the smart pop popcorn as well. Third thing here, like I touched on, is salads. Salads are amazing. They provide a lot of volume for very little calories. So if you want, you can literally just have like a salad a day. That's what I used to do. I used to have one entire bag of like the iceberg, I think it's called garden salad. And then I just added like a couple servings of fat-free Italian dressing on top. And I had a massive bowl and I added some protein, some chicken breast on top as well. I had this massive bowl, was around 300 calories, and like that would really fill me up. So that's a great hack. Fourth thing here are stir fries. So grab a bunch of like garlic, onions, spinach, peppers, broccoli, carrots, cauliflower, put it all into like a dish, add some chicken breast, add some beef, toss it all together, stir fry it up, add it on a plate. And I like to add some like sweet chili sauce on top, like a 0 calorie or lower calorie chili sauce. I think G Huge is the brand. G Huge. I probably butchered his name, but that's the brand that I used to take all the time. And I might just add that on top of my stir fry. Super delicious. Fruits as well in general, any type of fruit. Watermelon specifically is amazing. I think watermelon is one of, if not the lowest calorie fruit per serving, along with strawberries as well. So those are two great sources of fruit. Any type of berry as well, like blueberries, raspberries, super high in fiber, super delicious, all amazing for you. And then lastly is just some 0 calorie energy drinks. So whether it's like a diet soda, a diet Coke, diet Dr. Pepper, diet Fanta, those are all great in moderation. Like we touched on, like a coffee, make sure it's a black coffee. If you do drink coffee with like sugar and cream in it, that's totally cool. Just make sure that you keep track of the calories of the added sugar and cream as well, right? I personally, I just drink it black. I actually love the taste of black coffee. I used to hate coffee, to be honest, when I was in high school, but then the more of it I kind of drank, the more I loved it. And I genuinely, I would just drink coffee. Even if it did not have caffeine, I would still drink coffee. Like, that's how much I love it, which sounds weird to some people, but I'm genuinely such a big fan. Tea is another option. Personally, not a huge fan of tea. Just kind of tastes like hot water, in my opinion. And then lastly, it's just some energy drinks. Make sure that if you do opt for energy drinks, whether it's like a Monster energy drink or a Bang or whatever other energy drinks there are, make sure that you opt for the 0 calorie version. So don't get the one full of sugar, just get the 0 calorie version, because another important tip here is do not drink your calories. This is kind of the opposite advice that I gave to the bulking hacks video. If your goal is fat loss, definitely recommend under any circumstances, do not drink your calories, because drinking your calories, it won't really feel like you're eating anything. And let's say you have like a 200 calorie soda or 200 calorie energy drink, you'll drink that and it's like, it won't even feel like you consumed 200 calories, because if you drink your calories, if they're in liquid form, they just kind of like filter through your body and they don't really have to go through like the absorption process. Whereas if you were to take 200 calories from any other type of food, especially the foods that are listed here, and you were to eat that and actually chew it with your mouth, it actually like fill you up somewhat, right? Because you have to go through the entire absorption process. It goes through in your entire body to like fully digest, right? Whereas liquid calories are already like somewhat already fully digested, so you only have to like go through the digestion process. So big tip here, do not drink your calories and opt for 0 calorie beverages instead. One last thing I forgot to mention here is sparkling water is great as well. A bonus tip here is intermittent fasting. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that intermittent fasting in itself is not special. It's not magical. You may see a lot of people claim on social media that it improves your longevity and improves your lifespan. It does all these crazy effects to the body. I don't know how true that really is. There may be some added benefit, but for the most part, I would not intermittent fast for those benefits. However, intermittent fasting does do one simple thing, and that is it decreases your eating window. So let's say you normally wake up at 8 o'clock and you have breakfast at 8 o'clock and your last meal is at 8 p.m. So you have like a 12-hour feeding window. Whereas with intermittent fasting, let's say you wake up at 8, but you don't have your first meal until 12 p.m. and you have your last meal at 8 p.m. Well, that means that you cut your feeding window down to 8 hours instead of 12 hours, right? You can prolong this even further to maybe having your first meal at 2 p.m. and your last meal at 8 p.m. So now you only have a 6-hour feeding window. And that's all it simply does, right? And now if you're the type of person who enjoys eating larger meals less frequently, this could be a good idea for you, because I know a lot of people who sometimes when they go through a fat loss phase, they'll space out their meals evenly throughout the day. They'll have 6 meals, every couple hours throughout the day. But because the meals are so small in proportion, because you're dividing your meals evenly throughout the day, some people just don't enjoy doing that. They would so much rather just like maybe not eat for breakfast when most people aren't really that hungry. And by the way, you can use the coffee as an appetite suppressant to kind of like get you through this phase, or just having a bunch of water as well. And then after, later on in the day, you can indulge in larger meals. The only thing I will be careful of here is that a lot of people, when they're super hungry, especially when you go through intermittent fasting, let's say you have your first meal 2 p.m., they'll often, because they're so hungry, right, so often just like break the fast by having like a just binging on their diet. Basically, they'll have everything in sight. If you have the willpower or you have the discipline to just like still stay within your calorie deficit, still stay within your diet while intermittent fasting, that's totally fine. But if you know that you cannot do that, then I would say just eat regularly around the clock throughout the day as you normally would. The last thing here, guys, before I let you go, is consistency. So I want you guys to focus on making long-term lifestyle choices rather than opting for these short-term quick fixes. For example, if intermittent fasting is not something you enjoy doing, then don't do it for one day. If you don't see yourself doing it for the rest of your life, don't do it for one day. And now, of course, a fat loss phase is not going to be forever, because there will be some maintenance phases thrown around and some more massing phases, bulking phases, right? But try to have more of a long-term approach to this lifestyle, because fitness and health in general can very easily be lost and taken away. So make sure that whatever approach you decide to follow, that you do it for the long run, right? Any type of diet you follow, any type of food you eat, make sure that you actually enjoy eating it, because if you don't enjoy the process, the chances of you staying consistent with that are going to be very, very slim. So you have to make sure that you're somewhat to the most extent you are enjoying the process. And it's what you do over a prolonged period of time that's going to dictate your long-term results. And in order to stay consistent is by doing something that you actually enjoy doing, right? And so losing fats does take time, it does take patience, and it does take consistency, and it's impossible to see results overnight. And just one quick little reminder, in case you guys still need to hear this, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Do not rush through this fat loss process. As I've outlined before, it does take weeks and months depending on where you're at right now and to where you want to be. So with it out of the way, hopefully you guys took some nuggets out of this presentation. If you guys have any questions for me, as always, just let me know, and I'll see y'all in the next guide. Peace.